Great afternoon to all those who have tuned in to yet another episode of My Story Talk Show. Wherever you are on the planet, compliments of the time to you. I must take this time out to apologize for the delayed start. We had some technical difficulties. My name is Junior Roswes, and I am honored to have been given the opportunity and entrusted with the responsibility to safely guide this program this afternoon and to ensure that at the end of it, you, the viewers, and all those who are listening will be thoroughly blessed and be inspired by what will be shared this afternoon. I must also pause at this time to give a moment of recognition to the brain, the person behind this talk show, Miss Michelle L. Forbes, who this afternoon has taken a back seat, but I can still see that she is playing a role in the background to ensure that this show will be a success this afternoon. Thank you, madam, for giving us this opportunity, this awesome opportunity. I must say that I am extremely excited, and I promise that this show this afternoon will be nothing short of being inviting, intriguing, and inspiring. Please send this live to your friends, to your families, and to the women, the men, because I am certain that they will not want to miss. This program promises to be an interactive and inclusive one. A big shout out to all the viewers, the weekly viewers, those who are viewing for the first time. And I am sure that at the end of this show, you will become an ardent supporter. Thank you all for joining us. Before I introduce my illustrious guests, permit me please to share a brief part of my story. In the year 2015, I lost my father to old age and sickness. It left a void that needed to be filled and could only be filled by a father figure. I thought that person had to be old enough to actually have been my biological father. The proof of how wrong I was is sitting right in front of me this afternoon. I desired fatherly love. I desired fatherly advices. I desired fatherly affirmations and more. Psalms 21 verse 2 states, "You have given him his heart's desire, and I have not withheld the request of his lips." I want to tell somebody watching this afternoon that whether you have lost a father through death, absenteeism, or otherwise, or is it that the relationship between you and your children, it's just not at the level that it should be or what you envision it to be, just ask of God to provide that father, to provide that relationship that you need with your children. And Psalms 21 verse 2 will be your portion. On that note, with great pleasure, I take this opportunity to introduce to you all my spiritual father, a man of the word. That's who he is. A man of godly example. That's who he is. A man of vision and spiritual precision. That's who he is. He is the head pastor and co-founder of Worship and Faith International Fellowship. That's WAFIF. A husband of one wife. Co-founder Rev Nadine McLean. A father of three biological children, one of whom I will be introducing later in a short while. A father of many, many, many spiritual children. You could refer to him as the modern day Abraham. An author of 11 books. The Caribbean's fastest growing wired to win DNA coach. A God-inspired man. I want wherever you are, you just put your hands together, stamp your feet, and help me welcome Apostle Bishop Courtney McLean. And in the same breath, keep the applause going whilst I introduce his daughter and my spiritual sister, Deborah Mclean. She has displayed that she has the true DNA of her father. She is a young entrepreneur. She is the first child of our spiritual dad. And I can tell you that she is going to be a multi-millionaire because that is her dream. She stated that she wants to defy the odds. And by 25, she wants to be a multi-millionaire. She has 2 businesses and more on the way. Her dream is to continue to motivate youths and to follow in her father's footsteps by wiring others for the win. Success is always on her mind, and she wishes to share that mindset. Let me say a big welcome to you, my spiritual father, and my little sister, Deborah Mclean.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, son. Deacon Rosswest. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you, viewers.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Now, Apostle and little sister, Deborah, I want to start off this program this afternoon right where the Old Testament finished. In Malachi 4, verse 5. It says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great dreadful day of the Lord." And verse 6 says, "And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse." Apostle, Lady Deborah, is it that the hearts are turned away and there is a curse?
I would say yes. I'd say yes. Most fathers weren't fathered. And it's difficult for you to give what you don't have. And so I believe even for the fathers who are present in the home physically, because they weren't fathered, they are absent, many of them emotionally and spiritually. And so the family is operating under a curse, most families, because the hearts of the fathers are not turned towards the hearts of the children. So I'd say an emphatic yes, and that's what we see happening in our society today. Fatherlessness, absentee fatherism, and so forth. Yeah.
Lady Deborah, are you in agreement with what our father has said?
I definitely agree. I mean, as a young person, I see it every day among my peers, my classmates, people on social media. It is so obvious that most of them lack a father, like a proper father in the home, whether they're in the home or not. Because as they said, they could be in the home, but they're absent. They're not doing their role as a father as God would have wanted them to. So that plays out in especially their sons' lives. And then when they grow up, eventually they know they father the only way they know how, as what their father did. And it becomes a cycle, as Daddy would always call it, a generational curse. And this is not one line generational curse. It is literally across the world right now. And I believe it's a curse that needs to come to an end.
Amen. Amen. You spoke profoundly. Apostle, in your estimation, what is the standard of fatherhood that you see dominating the society at this time?
What I'm seeing, you're not talking what ought to be.
No, I'm talking what you're seeing.
The bare minimum.
Yeah,
The bare minimum.
Yeah, what people are being praised for.
Yeah. Yeah, many of the fathers that I see, because I can talk based on the society that I pastor in, the community that I pastor in. And many persons literally believe being a father is being a sperm donor. And that's what makes them fathers, because they are really, really not there. They're not there physically, they're not there financially, they are not there emotionally. And I would say maybe 6 out of every 10 children, the father is not there. And that's what I deal with on a week-to-week basis in terms of interacting with different persons. So absenteeism would be the order of the day. And for some, they visit now and again. For the few that are there, they don't know, many of them don't know what to do or how to bring it across. And so the ratio would be maybe 2 or 1 out of every 10 homes that would really, really have a stable, level-headed father in the home. And that must be fixed.
Amen. So what you're saying, Apostle, is that not only are the hearts turned away from the fathers and the children, but the absenteeism of the fathers, it's causing the curse to continue, to perpetuate.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. It's feeding the cycle.
It's feeding the cycle. All right, Apostle, can you tell your viewers, what was it like growing up as it relates to a father-son relationship? How did you see your father?
I saw my father growing up basically as a disciplinarian. And if there's one word that I'm going to use to describe it, the major one would be a disciplinarian. He loved us, but he was limited in terms of his knowledge in how to raise us with love, affirmation, and such so forth. So he did it the way he knew how. Holy beaten. Oh yeah.
And when you say beaten, you mean beaten with
Broomstick, belt, board, wire,
Anything you can find.
anything you find.
anything you could
Yeah,
find.
man. Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
now, as an adult, I realized that what he wanted was to set a certain kind of a discipline, and he was fearful of us failing or coming out wrong, but it actually caused emotional damage and hurt. Looking back, I'm no longer bitter, I'm not angry.
Yes.
But then I wanted to die, or I didn't want to live. I was looking for a way of escape because I wasn't happy.
Wow. So, for all the persons looking on, especially the fathers, what you would say to them is that beating, it's not really the answer. It's not the total answer. It's not. You can cause your children to become so fearful that they don't even want to be around, don't even want to be alive.
You know, we want to keep it so real, Sir Rosswest. I tell you, I grew up not liking to necessarily beat my children, but if I felt I needed to, I would. And to be honest, I can't see where that helped. I believe it actually drove a wedge between my children and I. And I have found different ways of bringing discipline that I believe works better. Again, there's a cycle.
Yes.
Unless you learn something new, you're going to continue the cycle that you're coming out of. And so for me, I know my father loved us. And in order to get us on the straight and narrow, that's what he chose, beating. And Deborah can share with you. I remember when she became 13, she turned 13. I mean, she did some crazy stuff. And I even traveled from Montego Bay. I had a meeting in Montego Bay. Traveled from Montego Bay just to be back down, to talk with her, to have devotions. Wasn't behaving. Hormones, I guess, was all over the place.
Father, I don't mean to cut you, but I don't want you to go there just yet.
All right.
I saw little sis over there
Yes.
sitting and smiling, and while she's talking, I can see that she is paying careful attention to what you're saying. So I want to ask her a question. Lady Deborah, say about 3 to 5 years ago, how did you see your father?
That's a really good question. 3 to 5 years ago, I was
Let's
like
project your
12.
voice a little bit.
I was 12 or 13, around 3 to
5
5
years ago, you'd be 13, yeah.
Okay. I felt as if I'm being honest, like 100% real, as a pastor, I always felt as if he only had children because it looked good to have children as a pastor.
Jesus.
I mean,
You serious?
I'm 100%.
Cut me there.
That's how I saw it. I felt as if they had children and they regretted it and they had to put on a show and they had to make it look good. I didn't have a really good relationship with him or my mother, and I may or may not have fallen into some cycle of depression, developing and maybe a bit of anxiety. And it's, I guess, this way that things were dealt with. I think at that time that's where the beating was happening. Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did something to my self-esteem, my self-confidence as well. So I didn't see him as someone who loved me, but more someone who just had to do their job. It was more like a chore rather than a pleasure to be a father. 3 to 5 years ago.
Yes. I don't want you to go any further. Just stick up in right there. Because what I'm hearing from you is that beating, again, this was what Apostle learned. And I want to ask him a question. How did the way that your father conducted his role as a father affected how you fathered your children?
All right. So what is interesting is that my decision was that I would not parent, I would not father as my father fathered. So I communicate a lot. My father was not necessarily a great communicator, but more of a dictator.
Okay.
So in my mind, here I am, fathering these children, meeting with them not just once per week, but every single day. I don't know the father who do that every single day, teaching them principles, seeing the danger that they're going to go in, especially this one. Talking about it and trying to help them to avert the danger. And then see them go in at the same danger. I said, all right, the talking and the strategy now. I said, no. And my wife used to say, you need to beat these children. So I say, you know what? It's true. What I'm doing not working, but that wasn't it doing. I'm going to say something else. And so I started putting on the lick. Seriously,
The man of God.
Yes. Yeah. Murderation.
Put it on the link.
Yeah. Because since I'm talking and talking not working, I started doing that. But I'm going to tell you this. I realized Deborah wanted to say something, and I'm going to allow her to say it. But I say this. We did a program right here on parenting that shifted my life. You heard Deborah said she didn't feel as if we loved her. When I loved my children that I would move heaven and earth.
Yes.
But guess what? And this is so profound. When I read the book, How to Really Love Your Child,
Wow.
I was like, oh. So even though I loved my child, genuinely loved my child,
she did not feel the love.
She did not feel that love. It wasn't being communicated in a language, in a manner wherein she received it. So I love her. I'm providing for her. I am meeting with them and communicating, but she was love starved. And to be love starved from your father is one of the worst things that can happen to you. It causes all kind of psychological and emotional issues. And so when I learned that, I believe that was where things started to change. So let me back up because I've said a lot and I realize.
Yes,
I don't know.
You know, I saw her wiping under her glasses, and I'm wondering if it was tears or something. But I saw that you wanted to say something, Lady Deborah. Go ahead.
Yes, when Daddy mentioned that's when he started beating, it wasn't like a 2-day beating. It was not that he was beating us for 2 days, but it wasn't like he tried it one time. You know, you have to try something, or you can't just try it one time to see if it works. I think it developed a sense of fear among all of us. And I'm speaking for my siblings. I'm representing all 3 of us today. But yeah, there was a sense of fear developed for our parents. And growing up, I've always wanted to have parents where something bad was supposed to happen at school or something bad was supposed to happen to me, I wouldn't be fearful of them finding out. It would be more, I want to tell them what happened. I wanted to build that kind of relationship with my parents. But at that time, I think the beating, as you said, was driving a wedge through that dream or aspiration. And it was more like, I can't let daddy find out about this, or I don't want to tell daddy that, or I'm going to hide away my feelings, or I would rather stay locked up in my room to avoid doing anything that might cause me to get beating or anything like that. So I just want to input that.
Wow. That's so profound. And I want to ask you another question, Lady Deborah. How do you see your father now? I know that back then the beating and all those things cause you to look at him from a certain perspective, being that you didn't think that he was loving, you didn't think that he loved you, even though he just said it that he loved you guys with all his heart and he would move mountains for you guys. But the way in which he was operating as a father, it was not communicated to you that way. The love, you did not feel that love. So, but how do you see him right now?
Tell the truth.
Right now, if I'm being honest, that is said to be real.
Keep it as real as
real.
I mean, the whole world is watching, and I can tell you that the world goes for genuine. The world goes for real. So I want you to keep it real.
Okay, I'm keeping it real. Right now, as we sit in these chairs, there was an argument that passed a few days ago, but the fact that that argument brought tears to my eyes. Not just tears. I woke up the next day with my eyes swollen. That kind of argument. But the fact that I'm still able to sit here and laugh with him just shows how deep our relationship is.
Wow.
To me. I was able to watch a basketball game with him Friday and Wednesday. I think it was Friday and Wednesday. And it was as if it never happened. And we're still able to kind of go back to those conversations or the arguments, bring it up and have a different discussion about it. So it's not like there's malice there might be a bit of tension the day after or the night of the argument, but I'm still able to have a conversation with him and act as if it never happened. There's no malice, there's no hate, there's no I'm gonna like him, I'm not gonna talk to him, and yada yada. I have a way better relationship with him now than I did 3 to 5 years ago. And I can honestly say at some point, it's like my father is my friend, my best friend, I would go to say. There's a point where I can go to him about if I feel weird about something, if there's someone who did something to me, I go to him, I ask for his advice. With school, I said, Daddy, I'm going to be straight up with you. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. And he'll talk to me, he'll sit down and say, you have to do it, you have to do it. And even the big disagreements with him thinking I should go to graduation and I don't want to go to graduation. And I just have to say, you know what, it is what it is. We'll get over it.
You see, loving doesn't necessarily mean compromising. It doesn't mean though you might compromise sometimes with. There are some things you can give up on. Yes. There are some things it doesn't matter. But for example, now my daughter here telling me she's not going graduation. She don't want to graduate. Well, graduation is different from graduating. Yeah. So she's going to graduate from school, but she's not going to the graduation ceremony. Right? Okay. And at first, I don't say anything and I allowed it. And I process things long.
No.
Yeah, I think deep, long before I come up with my answer. And so a few weeks before school ends, I said, I never graduated. Yes. Remember, I got expelled from 2 high schools. Yes. Yeah. So I said, well, I know she's not going to like this, but as much as I love her and I know that this is going to hurt her, this is going to be a culture in this house. My family will go to graduation, all of my children. Now, I don't know, I think she told a lot of friends that she's not graduating. So when I said that, as the tears had come down, you know what I did? I went for the rag and I say, here, you know, and I continue to speak. My family, all my children, I want them to graduate. I want this as a culture for us. I want another argument. She didn't want to finish school because all of these success books, be careful what you let the children read. She said, listen, I can become successful at business right now without finishing school. And that was another tension. I said, my daughter, all of my children will have a first degree. At minimum, in order for me to consider you an adult, you are not legally an adult here until you have your first degree. Wow. And so that's a culture. So there's some things I back up off, and it's not a big thing, but as a father, you have to be firm. Like she's talking to this guy now. Oh, God. And I said, sex before marriage is wrong. You'll have feelings, you'll have emotions. I said, sex is awesome, but it's not for you.
We just spoke about beating.
But you see, that's the awesomeness of your relationship that you have. Because here you are on set before the entire world, and you're just having fun. You can mess around, you can play with each other. And that's a type of relationship that fathers, mothers must seek to have with their children. And I must tell you that I know certain things about the relationship that you both have, and I can safely say that your relationship has matured, and it is a relationship that a lot of persons are emulating, looking up to, and doing it for themselves. And I must say, continue. But Lady Deborah, Father just spoke about relationship.
Oh, God.
I see you smiling. Do you think that this is the age? Speak from your heart. Do you think that this is the age that a child or a girl with a girl or boy can start looking at relationship?
I think girl is different from boy, if I'm being honest, especially in this time and age. I won't get into that. Do I think 17 years old? Daddy, sorry, but I do think it's an appropriate age. Why? Well, it depends on who you are. I don't think age is really the question, it's maturity.
So 11-year old should enter a relationship.
Okay, yes, age and age and maturity. I believe if I was more mature than I am now, that it would be almost fine with the idea. He is not 100% okay with it, and it's very obvious in his actions. But I believe he's somewhat compromising, and
Compromising. Keep going.
okay,
Compromising. That's a good word.
Okay.
I'll get to that later.
Yeah, because I want to jump on that.
stop. Okay. But I think it's very dangerous. I'm always telling people, especially the guy that Daddy would have mentioned, that relationships are very complicated things. They're very complex. It's literally two people coming from two different backgrounds, two different parents, ways of thinking, ways of loving, ways of receiving love, ways, morals, values, coming together and trying to be one, because that's what marriage and relationships should be about. And especially if it's a case where that person is coming out of a broken home and another person is coming out of a broken home, it can either build a relationship or it can make it worse for yourself. So I really think it depends on how much you love yourself, how much you're able to love someone, because I don't think it's okay to be in a relationship when you don't love yourself. And though I am struggling with self-love right now, I think I'm getting better and I'm getting there every single day. But I really don't. The minimum I'm putting is 16. I used to date before 16 and I see why Daddy was so. How are you? You're pushing the no dating at this age and you're not ready for love at this age and you need to focus on school. And I do believe that. But I finished school in a few weeks. That can't be that is excuse anymore. It's more, are you ready for a relationship? Are you mature enough for a relationship? So I would say 16 is a good age to maybe start looking, but I don't think you should look for a relationship. If it will find you, when you start looking for things, you probably find the wrong thing. So once you're mature enough, you understand the concept of a relationship and you're able to have someone like such father to govern and say, I don't think you should do this, and put certain principles in place and rules and make sure that you know that you value yourself, then I think it's okay to start dating, but not to surrender your heart, soul, life, body, mind, everything to this one person. Because though there's a lot of people who date one time and that's it for them, they get married, have children, oh my God, happy ending. A lot of people, including Daddy, I don't know about you, but I would want to think you that have dated and it has gone wrong. But it's okay to learn from those experiences and just move forward with a positive mindset into the dating world.
Well, I see that you are utilizing what you have learned, what was said to you by your father. You're using it. I wouldn't say against him, but you're using it to explain yourself and to
Yes.
get ahead in the argument. But I'm going to give Apostle a chance to respond to what she has just said about dating.
All right. What's my preference? My preference would be a flat out no. That's my preference. It would be a flat out no
Wait, to what?
to dating. My preference.
To
At
dating
this age.
on
To
this
dating
age?
at
this
this
age,
age,
yes.
yeah. It would be a flat out no. Why? It divides you. This is the age where you are focusing on education. You are trying to establish your foundation at this age of your life. And relationship, as Deborah said, can be very complex and it can mess with the emotions of young people. And so what I also know is that as a father, if you have a child who is a pre-adult, a young adult really, one year from being an adult, a few months from being legally an adult, and if you don't allow that child to make some decisions
Yes.
and allow that child to make mistakes that can be learning experience and not a life sentence. If you parent with a heavy hand, so much so that your child, which I believe she wanted at one point, they can't wait to become an adult to just run leave your house to go do all of what they want to do. Then when they do leave, they're going to make no ends of mistake without you being there
Yes.
to protect them.
Yes.
And so what I do, I realize she tells me, I'll see this guy, I like this guy. You know, I let him come to my house. I talk to him. Serious.
Thank you, Katrina.
You know?
Serious.
Yeah. Talk to him. They asked about going to the movies. I try to allow it within a certain context. I show up at the movies and take them home.
Did you know that?
You know, because what you want, if you make all the decisions for your child and then they become an adult, leave your place and start make decisions for themselves without you being there, you would not be there to guide. And so at this stage, I can say, why are you hugging like that? You know that hugging like that close, you're not supposed to have sex. Because I talk plain. You're not supposed to have sex. When you hug like that and you stir up, do you know that that young man is in his prime? When him stir up like that, what going to happen? You're not supposed to. You understand? So speak, but there must be that distance so that no lasciviousness is taking place, which is to stir up what you can righteously satisfy. You have to have those conversations.
He's very plain. I mean, I was on the way to school. He was taking me to school for an exam Thursday, and we're just sitting in the car, and out of nowhere, sex is awesome, but no sex before, like out of nowhere.
As if he wanted to say it a long time ago.
Or it just popped up in his head and he just decided to say, like, there's no filter.
I told her, sex is a wonderful thing. Sex is a wonderful thing, but within the confines of marriage. And I told her, if you don't wait, and I have to keep saying these things because I know how the temptation is, and that's my job as a dad, to look out and to ensure. So I say, yes, sex is awesome, but remember, sex is a bonding agent that should be bonding to married people. You start getting sexually involved here, this one don't work out, you get sexually involved over there, and many parents are shy of speaking to their children.
I was just about to say that many fathers, especially, are very reluctant to speak to their daughters about sex. If you don't have that conversation, and mark you gentlemen, I am not saying that it is easy to have a conversation with your daughter about sex, but the more that you speak about it, it is the more comfortable it will become, and you will be able to impart to your daughters what is it that they should do, should not do as it relates to sex and other things.
I know you're going to ask me so, but may I just say something quickly?
Sure.
Every family is different. You can't run your house based on how I am running my house, because your daughter might not be there any at all. And you have to insist on a flat out no, because you realize that in order to earn someone's love, she's going to be doing what she ought not to be doing. And you have to have that kind of conversation. So don't leave and say, Bishop says, all right, for my 17-year-old daughter to date. Yeah? I believe you have to deal with each situation.
Everything is within
everything
context.
within context.
Context.
And I wanted to put that in there.
That was a timely interjection, sir. But I want to, just move on a little bit. I know that you're a man of the word. And I know that during the the turbulence years that you had with Deborah, there must have been some things that guided you. So what I want to ask, what are your top 3 Bible verses that is used for raising children? I know that is broad, but that is used for raising children, and the principles that you get from these Bible verses.
Well, you of all persons, the Rastas, you know. So while I was going through and battling with Deborah years ago, I was also doing the Every Man a Warrior program. And I wasn't only teaching it, I was benefiting from it. And while doing the program, we learned 3 biblical principles for raising children. Principle number 1, it is the father's God-given responsibility to train his children.
I want you to say that again, sir. And I want you to look in the camera and speak to the fathers,
So
and let them understand.
the first principle that I learned from the program is that it is the father's God-given responsibility to train his children. And the scripture that supports that is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Fathers, do not beat your children until they are angry and think that you don't love them, and they are frustrated and they think that you hate them. Do not exasperate your children. Do not use your authority in a wrong way that would destroy the relationship between you and your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. That changed my life. Because when I studied that verse, I realized that training and instruction of the Lord means influence.
And not beating.
And not force. So most parents parent from a place of authority, which is what I was doing. But I didn't have the influence. Right now, I believe I have influence over my children.
And the authority.
And the authority, because the influence comes when the person knows that you love them genuinely. And what happens in many relationships is that the child doesn't really know. And remember this principle? Rules without relationship ramp up rebellion. So when you have a lot of rules, but there's no relationship, it forces the child to rebel. And so what I had to do was to build a relationship from the book that I read, and I read a lot because I see parenting as it's a skill that you must develop. And so I had to invest, I had to learn, I had to grow. And from that now, I learned that in order for your child to realize that you love them, you have to give focused attention. That means you're talking to the child, you're giving them undivided attention. Appropriate physical touch. So you hug, you kiss on the cheek, appropriate physical touch. You put your hand on the shoulder, you affirm them. Eye contact. While you're communicating, you are also you also ensure that you are very, very present. Yeah, you watch for the pitch of your voice in terms of how you come across, and discipline must be within a certain context. And so I had to learn all of that as a part of Ephesians 6 verse 4 to help me to be the teacher that God wants me to be. I had to gain influence. So I know that's a long way to answer your question, but one of the major scriptures would be Ephesians 6 verse 4. The next one is Proverbs 17:6. Fathers are the glory of their children. I believe that's the quotation. And then, so children adore their fathers. And if you know how to use that, then what's going to happen is that your image, the identity of the child is going to be very, very strong, because you are going to be affirming that child, and you understand that the child really, really looks up to you and want to mirror you. And then finally, Proverbs 18 verse, is it 31? 21.
21.
Sure, 21.
Yes.
Yeah. The word spoken to a child will determine his or her destiny. So when Deborah behave like she is a mad girl and stress me out, I'm going to say, pick me in a sense. I would say, Deborah, you're better than that. I would say, Deborah, that's not you. If she behave lazy and clean her room, I would say, Deborah, you know that's not you. You are better than that. That's not the girl that I know you want to be. And so this program really, really changed my life. I'd encourage every father to do it. How would that go? And I made the interview. Can I ask that?
Just before you ask her a question, I just wanted to add to what you said. I know that you did not say it in so many words, but one of the profound thing is that children get their self-image from what
they believe.
And that is just
You
powerful.
don't finish it. You don't finish it. Finish it.
From
what they believe.
your dad
thinks
about them.
Yeah. And that's the glory.
I believe I was around 13 or 14 at that time. 13. I was 13 at that time. Basically just entering high school, getting to know everything, hormones all over the place. And like Daddy said, we were having a really hard time. And he took it upon himself to book a trip to, I think it was New York and then Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we drove down to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so it was
At a
to
camp.
New York.
To Pennsylvania.
And then we drove down to Pennsylvania. I mean, it's already weird that we already have a weird relationship going on, but then to drag me across the other side of the world, just us, no mommy to cook me breakfast or no sibling to run to or anything like that. It was just us and I believe it was an apartment. And I believe that point is what drastically changed our relationship.
The alone time.
The alone time in a completely different space where he's not used. It's like he had to be a mother and father figure because who's going to cook breakfast in the morning? Who's going to make sure this and this is done or whatever, whatever. So he had to fit both roles. And I was just forced to stay with my father for the entire time. And it we did a lot of things that trip, and I believe it genuinely strengthened our bond. He got me a promise or purity ring, which I wear nonstop, and I believe that was just something that built a bond. And from then, he has communicated better. As I said, I'm able to go to him about almost everything now. I'm not that scared to say he's going to think this and that. I just want to hear his honest opinion. He spends a lot of quality time with all of us, not just me. Remember, there's two other children, and he spends, well, three other children now. And he spends quality time with each and every one of us. We went to dinner the other night at a nice restaurant, and we had a lot of fun going there. There's times when he spends one-on-one time. He would go to a restaurant with Dominique to celebrate her average. I think he woke up 4 o'clock in the morning the other day to send Daniel fishing. Diving and Dan
fishing. That was
3 o'clock in the morning to go fishing, just to spend time. Of course, he spends time with mommy as well. And there, even if he's not going out of the house physically, he would call us up on a random Tuesday and say, how is life? What's going on? Tell me. And then he'd just go in depth and speak to us about it, give us his advice on certain things or what God is telling him. And though those meetings may not always end well, I believe those small things, just a quality time, being able to communicate better. It's like he said, stop trying to be in authority. Stop it. I believe parents have way too much pride when it comes to children. And they believe as they are better than. If they're in authority, they know what's best. But maybe if you stop talking, you sit down and open your ears and listen to your child, what they're trying to say, how they're feeling, how they're acting, observe, then maybe you'd actually have a better relationship. And I believe that's what my parents did. And that's where we are today. And I'm not going to say we're a perfect, father-daughter relationship, because there are bumps down the road. There are times when I want to lock myself in my room and don't have anything to do with him. I want to block him. I remember, I think there was an argument once where I actually did block him.
I know. I know.
That really helped. And I believe that those are some things that parents should take into consideration when they're trying to better their relationship with their child.
Well, fathers, mothers, you're hearing it from a child. And she's saying these are some things that you need to look at when it comes on to improving the relationship that you have with your children. But, Apostle, what would you say are your top 3 roles as a father?
As a father, providing spiritual stability, foundation for my children.
Yes.
I believe that's major with what's happening in the society now. And that's why I keep walking them through what do you believe? Anchor them, providing spiritual anchor, foundation for them. Number 2, I'm a provider. Work very, very hard to provide for them. And I'm a protector.
You're a protector.
Yeah.
Well, I think most men out there would agree with you that those would come in their top 3.
Yes.
As a father. But I want to ask little sis the question probably in the reverse. What is your top 3 expectations of your father?
Top 3?
Yes. What do you expect of him? What is it that you are saying that this is, if there is nothing else, I expect my father to do these 3 things?
Ooh. I'm expecting him to, I know this is basic, but you, like you said before, you can love and not show love. And I believe that's something every child wants to experience from their father, something I want to experience. I would say top 3 is learn and love your child the way that they receive love. Another thing would be to guide your child spiritually, emotionally, financially, even physically, because that will tell you you need to work out or you need to eat healthier. Guide your child, because soon enough they're going to be gone, and you need to be able to lay down certain principles that will stick with them until the end. So guiding them, loving them, and I believe the next one would be to protect them, whether it's to protect them from emotional danger or physical danger. I mean, I'm pretty sure at one point Daddy was telling us we need to take self-defense classes or something like that, where he wanted us to teach us how to avoid certain things when we're on the road. Because I'm allowed to go out without chaperones now, so I need to be able to protect myself. And when I'm with him and we're in a dangerous area, he will be able to protect me physically and to protect me emotionally when it comes to seeing other people, giving me advice if needs be, or telling me a flat out no. If he sees something off about a person or he sees a situation, don't do it, Deborah. He's protecting me emotionally or spiritually as well. So those are my top 3 things.
All right. I would hear it's basically the same thing. I don't know if the listeners or the viewers realize that it's almost the same thing. Your top 3 and her top 3 expectations. And I want us as parents, as fathers, to really take note of that. It's good to interact with your children and let them know that, guess what it is that you expect of me as a father. What is it that I should be doing? What is it that you think that I should be doing? And then when you have that conversation, then you can be in a better position where you can make the relationship better together. Apostle, I know that especially when we are Christian persons, we tend to resort to God will work things out for us. Pray about it. And it will, you're having problems with your children and you're here, pray about it. But I know as a father of 4, I know that praying about it is not all. There are things that you need to do as a father that will gain the confidence and trust of your children so that the relationship can be better. What would you say to the fathers watching, viewing?
Deborah just said faith without works is dead.
Which is so true.
I see myself as someone called to develop, to sharpen, to prepare my children for life. How am I going to prepare them? The preparer must be prepared. The one who is developing must be developed. When I had challenges in my marriage, God sent me to read a book. When I had challenges with raising my children, God directed me to a course. And we did that course, you and I, for how many years?
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years. To be a better husband, to be a better father. And I want to say to fathers that if you really take the call of parenting serious, I want to encourage you, do that program, Every Man a Warrior, because you are in a warfare. And if you are going to win, you must go to boot camp. And boot camp will prepare you. And so, for me, it is reading. Constant. Right now, I'm reading a book. I'm reading a book because this one here, Jesus help me. Dominique, Daniel, Davian.
The 4 Ds.
So I'm reading a book right now. I ask God and he generally directs me to a book. And I'll soak in that book for about 1 month, reading, jotting down things, praying again. And then after I feel as if I have the answers, then I'll communicate, direct, and flow accordingly. We're not there. So for me, development is an ongoing thing until I die.
That's so true, Father.
May I add something?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I want to say this. I have a counselor. the bishop, the apostle, I have someone in my corner that I pay for sessions. So if I hit a brick wall with my son or my daughter or my wife, I will sit in a session and I say, all right, my time to be counseled now. I said, this is the challenge I'm having. What do you think? This is what I'm doing. And they'll say, you're on the right track, Bishop. You're on the right track. Just tweak this, that. This is what I think. And I'll bring that back to the Lord. Because you see, God is not always going to speak to you like this or like this. For your own humility, God will put the answer that you need in somebody else. And many of us, we're not humble enough.
We're not humble enough. Yeah. And that's what I got from what you just said a while ago. You need to be humble enough. As fathers, we need to be humble enough to know that we can go to somebody else. If it is even written, we can go to somebody else and say, guess what? How do I do this? But many of us, especially as fathers, the mothers will do it, But many of us, especially as fathers, we are so prideful that we believe that, if we go to somebody else, we are weak as a father to seek help. But I want to say, Father, that is a lie from the pit of hell. Fathers, if you need the help, go and seek the help. I know that we are counting down and we will soon be out of time, but there are certain things that I would want to get out before we close up this afternoon. Deborah, I want you to quickly tell me, what advice would you give to fathers as a daughter? What advice would you give to fathers as to how to communicate with their children, how to receive what their children are saying to them?
So how to communicate and how to receive.
Yes.
How to communicate, I think you should try your best to maybe copy what Daddy is doing in terms of just spitting the facts, like saying it bluntly if needs be. Say how you feel. A lot of times Daddy will express to me he feels disappointed, or maybe he feels that because of my actions that he's not doing his best as a father. You need to take down the walls. Stop trying to be the big protector sometimes and honestly just be vulnerable with your child, because I believe that builds a greater relationship where you're able to understand each other's emotions, and it helps someone or the daughter to see from the father's perspective. So that's one thing, to just be honest about how you feel, how the situation made you feel, or how things are affecting you, or why you did this, why, the outcomes. Just be honest. In terms of listening, it is honestly just sitting down to listen. A lot of times we listen, but we don't understand. So zip.
I know time is going, and I'm seeing that we only have probably a minute to go. But Apostle, quick, in about 30 seconds, tell me what advice would you give to fathers that are listening to you now?
I believe every father out there genuinely loves his children. I would want for you to learn how to communicate that love. And once that love is received, then you are now at the point where you are able to really influence your children. And that I'd recommend a book, How to Really Love Your Child. It's a very, very good book. It changed my life, changed my relationship with my wife, my relationship with Bora, my relationship with my children at large. So just learn how to show that love, because I know you do love them. But are they receiving it as love? Maybe not.
Amen. Amen. Before we close, I just want to say that many of us as fathers today, we pat ourselves on our backs, and our shoulders, and think that we are doing much better than our father did. I used to do that. Apostle used to do that. But then we got the revelation that comparison, compromise standards. Now, what do I mean by that? Is not because you're doing better than your father did. It doesn't mean that you're doing the best. Maybe your father was so far in the negative that you doing better than your father it just put you at 0. Does that mean that you are doing the best as a father? I speak specifically to fathers, but mothers, you can take this also. Make one-on-one time for your children. Try it this week and be guided by certain principles. I'm going to give you 5 principles that you should be guided by. 1, make it safe when you're speaking to your children. And fathers, I want you to hear this. Ask questions, as was said by Lady Deborah. Keep the focus on the children. Keep the focus on them. Listen. Listen. And finally, pray over them. Pray over them. I can assure you, if this is not this one-on-one time that you will have with your children, it's probably the best thing that you will ever do for them. And I can assure you that when you have one-on-one time with them, the relationship that you have with your children will improve immensely. And you will come back and testify. When you're having fun, time runs out so fast. But I just want to say thank you all to the viewers for watching another episode of my show, My Story Talk Show. And I pray that you will come back and view again. I know that there will be a part 2 to this. So tune in next time as we give you some tips on how to improve your children, parents relationship. Have a good evening.